Hey, how's it going, guys? Just back with another community support video. This week I've got three contests. So the first one I'll get into is Spidey Fans 500 sub contest. I believe he has one going on for another week or so. So if you guys want to check out his contest, I highly recommend doing it as soon as possible. I think it said it either ends on the 12th or the 15th. So either 3 to 6 more days on that. But what he wanted me to talk about, he said, identify your favorite Spidey related book. So that was pretty tough, actually. I just went with the one I actually bought slabbed because I don't have a lot of slabbed comic books, but I've got this Secret Wars number 8, 8.5. I think I got this from Who Dat Comics and Movies off one of the Great Legend auctions for a heck of a deal. So definitely this one's very high up in my favorite, Spidey comic books. There's so many to choose from, it's hard to pick just one, but this one was easy enough to grab, so I grabbed Secret Wars number 8. I'm sure everybody knows what happens in that one and all that good stuff. Next up, he says, what got you back into collecting? So probably about early 2000s. High school / college happened, and my store moved that I was going to, and I just wasn't that much into the hobby. So about halfway point of college, I kept picking up Wizard magazines here and there. And one of the ones they highlighted, and actually it's probably closer to 2001, I should say. I think this is when this was released. One of the books I kept seeing highlighted was New X-Men, 114 by Grant Morrison. This is the awesome is for Extinction run. Um, so this was in correspondence a lot with the X-Men movie that came out in 2000, which the importance of that movie, in my opinion, is cannot be understated. So the momentum of that movie carried on to this comic where they're kind of adopting some of the costumes worn in that movie. So that kind of drew me back in. And once I started reading Grant Morrison's X-Men, I was looking for this anywhere I could find it until I actually found a new shop close to me to buy comics from. So for a while, I didn't even have a comic shop that I knew about. So I was finding, comics like this, like in grocery stores and stuff again, like when I was a little kid. So this is one of the ones that just roped me back in, I gotta say. So New X-Men's my pick for that. And I guess I'll show this awesome Emma Frost cover. This is one of the ones they showed in Wizard. I just thought that was very weird cover for X-Men book. So once again, that definitely draws your attention to say the least. The last thing he wants me to talk about is just collecting goals for the remainder of 2018. So a little bit of exciting news. I just got 2 of my top 10 wanted books for 2018 within like the last week or so. So hopefully on an upcoming video or live stream, I'll be able to show those 2 books. Tomorrow I'll have my live stream back. I plan on definitely showing one of those books. The other one I won on eBay auction yesterday. So hopefully I'll have that to show the following week. But as for my remaining goals, I think I have 3 books left out of my top 10 for 2018. I believe it's Green Lantern number 1 from 60. I think it's from 1960. Would love to have that. That's like my number 1, like, throw a book at the wall that's very expensive and want it. So hopefully, maybe I'll get that by Christmas. Who knows? We'll see. What else is on there? Amazing Spider-Man 252, first black costume. Don't have that one yet. I'd love to have that. And then my last one is Chew number 1, first print. That first print is not the easiest to find. Even on eBay, search Chew 1, all the multiple prints and all kinds of other stuff pops up. So those are my top 3 remaining books from my top 10 list. But yeah, happy to report that I've acquired 7 of my 10 books this year. So once again, check out Spidey Fans channel. He's probably well over 500 subs. He has cool auctions. He always has cool convention pickups, signatures, and finds. So check him out. Next up, a newer YouTuber I've started following within the last month or so, I think. JPLFlash Comics Geekdom. He is having a 200 sub contest, and what he wants me to do is show 5 covers with 5 favorite characters, plus 1 indie book. So this one was pretty tougher than I thought too. I kind of just, I'll be honest, I started kind of just grabbing what I saw. It's like, oh, I really like that character. I'm going to grab that cover because I like that cover. It's very hard to pick just 5. So, but I knew at least my top 2 were a lock, obviously. So My first one I had to pick. This one's for you, Chad, once again. Adventure Comics #1. Connor Kent, probably my top, maybe second all-time favorite character. He's the character I grew up with. This is the character I feel DC made basically just for me when I was a kid, so definitely had to pick him. Got a cool Francis Manapul art inside and cover on the outside. He actually signed it for me right there. So Connor Kent is my pick, and actually I like this kind of segue, I guess, or go off topic for a second. This book is so good, but written by Jeff Johns. I actually picked up the hardcover, even though there's not much to this hardcover. They still printed it for some reason, but the cool thing about it is I took it to a convention where Francis Manapul's at, and he actually did a cool crypto sketch in there for me. So definitely will never be selling this book now. I love crypto. I love Superboy, and I love Francis Manapul's art. So a lot of cool stuff in this hardcover for me. Next up, like I said, it's for me it's kind of a tie between first and second place. I picked Green Lantern, and this is issue 16 of, I guess, volume 2, the Silver Age volume / Bronze Age volume. But picked this one up way back when on Snuffs from Alex the Comic Hoarder. This one is the first appearance of Star Sapphire, so I think this is the oldest Green Lantern comic I own. I'm looking to get some ones older than that, obviously, but they are not easy to find, unfortunately. So happy to have this one. Hard to pick just one Green Lantern cover, so I just went for the oldest and probably the one I paid for the most for. So once again, happy to have that. Love Hal Jordan. He's one of my favorite characters, obviously. So next up, like I said, the other three were kind of a toss-up. I think a solid #3 for me is Animal Man, Buddy Baker. So I found this cover. Because I didn't want to take down my number. I have the two #1s up on my wall. One's the Grant Morrison run, and the other one's the #1 of this Jeff Lemire run. And thought this cover was funny, so I decided to show up. It says daughter, like, infected by what they call the red in the comic, just gnawing off his face. So I'm surprised. I don't think the Comics Code would have ever allowed this one back in the day. So thought that was a fun cover of the show. So had to pick Animal Man. Next up, I'll be honest, this comic actually just fell off my wall. I didn't even realize it was kind of trapped in the back. Luckily, no damage was done. I was like, oh, it's a sign to pick this character, I guess. So I picked Kate Kane, Batwoman, signed by Greg Rucka. And I absolutely love this Detective Comics run by Greg Rucka. And pretty much anything he's touched with Batwoman in it. So amazing run there. She's definitely one of my favorite characters. I guess post 2009. I thought this was 2010. It was printed in 2009. So I guess within the last decade, one of my favorite characters to come into comics. So there's that. And then the last one, I got to pick Wolverine. Decided to pick this David Finch Wizard World Texas variant cover that no one wanted to buy for me at any of the live auctions. So I was assigned to keep this in my collection. So I'm not a huge David Finch fan, but I do love this cover. I thought he knocked it out of the park with the arrows and stuff. And the back of Wolverine, and actually I got this signed by Finch. Who else signed this? Richard Isinovi and dang it, the writer. I'll think of it here in a little bit, but the writer of this book also signed it. Shame on me for not. Oh, Paul Jenkins. There we go. I always remember late on these videos for some reason. So that's my last of my 5 covers for him. So he also wanted me to talk about one indie book real quick. I think this one is still ongoing. But I decided to talk about The Wicked and the Divine. Don't hear a ton of people talking about this book in the community, which kind of surprised me because I think it's really good. Just kind of imagine the culture of, like, I guess, Greek gods mixed in with teen pop idols and combine that with the fact that these gods / teen pop idols only live for basically 2 years once they become the benevolent beings. So that really creates a super interesting world that Kieran Gillen has built in this. Not to mention the fact that Jamie McKelvey's art in this it's really good, very, very underrated. And I actually got him to sign this for me too. So each of the McKelvey and Gillen signed this. I thought that was pretty cool. So just to kind of sample the art without a spoiler, I guess. So, or never mind. Whoops. Yeah. I guess if most of you read it, probably. I don't know if it's probably a spoiler. Sorry about that. But nonetheless, check out Wicked and the Divine. It's a really awesome read. I got volume 2 in my collection. I'm about halfway done reading that. So I really like that book. Can't recommend it enough. So once again, JPLFlash Comics and Geekdom, 200 subs. check his channel out. He's got some real nice stuff, and I think he's from across the pond too. So if you guys went from him and you're from the United States, keep in mind if he ships it to you, it's not going to be cheap. So definitely show him some love over there. My last one is for a 100 sub contest from Comic Bags. So he is a really cool kid who collects a lot of awesome comics. I've had the stuff he had at his age when I was that age. Man, I would have that. He's gonna have an awesome collection one day. He's already getting really awesome books. He's already putting them in Mylar bags and everything. So, man, to become a kid again and collect comics, there's nothing like it. So I definitely wanted to make sure I participate in his contest. I think it ends probably 2 weeks, something like that. I'll link everybody's videos down below as well. So unfortunately, I'm not too clear. I forgot to copy and paste the details on my notes app. But nonetheless, he's celebrating 100 subs. So congratulations, Comicbags22. What he wants me to do, show the top 5 comics in my collection and show 3 key books, which once again, very hard to dig stuff out. So I actually picked 4 key books just because why not? But first, I'm going to show and like I said, I'm surrounded by my favorite comics. So to pick 5, I actually picked 4 of the 5 out of my boxes because I just don't like taking stuff down, putting it back up. But like I said, my list could change in 5 minutes. So, but anyway, these are 5 of my favorite comics of all time, I suppose you could say. The first one I'll show off, Astonishing X-Men #1, the Cassaday variant. My brother actually gave this to me, so just an added little incentive of why I like it so much. Actually got signed by John Cassaday. This is probably my favorite X-Men run of all time. It's neck and neck between that and the Grant Morrison one I showed previously, so I really like this run. Some of the best art I've seen from John Cassaday. Joss Whedon wrote it, who created Buffy, my favorite TV show of all time, so what is not to like about this book? If you guys like X-Men and for some reason haven't checked this out, like I guess get out of your bomb shelter from the early 2000s you took refuge into, / quit living under a rock and go buy this trade hardcover. Individual issues. These are kind of in dollar bins too, so not this particular issue obviously, but I see a lot of Astonishing in dollar bins. So if you guys want to collect this run, it's fairly easy right now. I would probably try to get it before Disney announces any type of X-Men deal, because everything's going to go up like usual. But right now, these are dollar bin books, most of them. So I think my local shop, you can get the first issue for a few bucks and the rest are $1. So definitely check this run out if you guys have not already. Next up, and this is kind of a preview for my live video tomorrow, Y the Last Man issue 60. My money, this is the best conclusion to any series ever, and probably the best single issue of a comic I've ever read. I mean, I've really tried to think of other things, and there are a couple others I've thought of, but I won't get into it now because I'm already 13 minutes in. But nonetheless, and actually Pierre Guerra signed up here too. Sorry, Mirror Vision here. So I got a signature on that. Very happy to have that. But for my money, this is the best single story comic ever. Not to mention the fact that it wraps up a 60-issue run of one of the best stories ever. So had to include this. I mean, even if I was going to redo my top 5, this would probably be in it. Like this book is, I guess you'd say, next level. So happy to put that one in there. Next up, Green Lantern 21. I guess this is Sinestro Corps War Part 2. I have the Part 1 on my wall, but I think this is where the event really kicked off. The first one's kind of just establishing the Sinestro Corps. And obviously they did some battles in that book too, but this is the one where they really wage war against the Green Lanterns. And if you guys are a fan of Sinestro at all, man, he is the man in this whole run. Obviously his name's in the whole title. But this is like, I wasn't super into Green Lantern before this, but this book, like, I was like, okay, I'm sold on Green Lantern for probably the rest of my life now. So got this one signed by Ivan Rice. So like I said, this is definitely one of my top favorite storylines of all time. Next up, this is kind of a placeholder for a couple things I got in CGC right now, but I still like this book too. Green Lantern, Green Arrow number 86. This is the post-Speedy drug issue, I guess. So this kind of represents to me a very groundbreaking, awesome run by Denny O'Neil and Neil Adams. Just not too often in comics did they address drug culture and just what was going on in the world. I mean, you they're talking about how, you know, it literally says on there, more deadly than the atom bomb, drugs. So it's just very interesting. I feel like this run's almost kind of a representation of history in the 70s, just to see how bad drug culture was making the world. Not to mention, I mean, there's phenomenal Neil Adams art inside here too. So definitely had to put this on the list. I've got the 2 books in between out to CGC now. Not sure why I didn't send this. I should have just sent this one too, but I was feeling cheap when I was picking out my CGC books, I guess. But so I got the Speedy drug issue, the one where it was like, oh my God, my ward, druggy, blah, blah, blah. And then the first appearance of John Stewart, I've got the CGC. So this one was in between. So I wanted to throw one of the old Green Lanterns up, and then this one's going to make a poor man's comics mad. But I got to be honest, it's one of my favorite comics I own. Gotham City Sirens, #1. Signed by J.G. Jones. I think it's only like either 1 in 10 or 1 in 25 variant. Took it off my wall, put it in a Mylar. This one's for you, Legend. A fullback. So I got a nice full back on there. Got this for basically cover price. This book nowadays is just a ghost. Like, for me, it's up there with that. And I wish I owned it because it's a ghost too. That Adventures or no, it's the Legion of Supergirl and the Legion of Superheroes 22 or 23, the Hughes variant. That one I would love to have. This is probably for me the closest to that, just because I feel like the rarity is about the same. Because this one, obviously, when Gotham City Sirens came out, extremely low rated or low print run book for the most part. Not to mention putting a variant on top of that obviously makes this pretty hard to find and sought after. So I think I'm one of the few people who hope they still make that movie. I don't know why. I'm never gonna sell this. Sorry, poor man, but I'm probably never gonna sell this. But it would just be cool to, you know, look back like, man, that's an expensive book. I know we all do it sometimes, whether we want to or not. But yeah, I absolutely love J.G. Jones's work, and the run's not half bad either. Love Paul Dini on the writing, so especially since, you know, he did the Batman animated series or helped create that. So happy to have this book. It's definitely probably one of the most sought after books from the community I have in my collection, in my opinion. So those are my 5 books. So I'll show the 4 keys and wrap this up. Like I said, this was in the same box as the next key, so I was like, I may as well do an extra key because it's there. Savage She-Hulk #1. So first appearance of She-Hulk, plus I believe this was like the last character created by Stan Lee, so I guess that kind of makes it more of a key. So this one took me a long time to find at a decent price, because this book just keeps going up and up and up in the community and on eBay, because everyone keeps, at this point at the MCU, everyone's just anticipating the next character getting announced for a movie. There's not a lot announced in terms of what's the movies after, you know, Avengers 4, Captain Marvel, and so on and so forth. Obviously, everyone's anticipating Fantastic Four and X-Men, but we know they're going to go deeper into their own well, probably first with, you know, the Kamala Khan, Miss Marvel, maybe Miles Morales, Spider-Man, you never know. But a lot of people are anticipating She-Hulk just because, like, why not? So there's that. Next up, like I said, this is in the same box. I got this on the Lords of the Long Box auction, I think last year. I might get this one graded eventually too. Showcase 75, first appearance of Hawk and Dove. Love these older time covers. Like, there's just a certain charm to them that modern covers cannot capture anymore. So thought this was a really nice condition book. As you can see, TiVo takes phenomenal care of his stuff when he sells it on his auctions. Sorry for the glare, guys. It's in a nice Mylar bag. But yeah, I just happy to have this book. Thought it was really cool. Definitely wanted to I don't think I've ever showed this off on one of my videos, so I wanted to make sure I did. Next up, this is another long time ago Christmas present for my brother. I'm sure maybe he would rethink that now. Maybe not. Who knows? I got an Uncanny 129, signed by Chris Claremont right there. I believe this is the actual first appearance of White Queen and Kitty Pryde, I think. It's been a while since I looked all that up, but I got it signed by Chris Claremont, so for me, it's definitely a key. Newsstand on top of it, so cool. But who doesn't love this X-Men run? Everybody loves it, so there's that. And then the last up, Green Lantern 50. This might have been, besides the Death of Superman and Adventures 500, this might have been the definitely the first Green Lantern key I got. But one of the first key books I ever bought, ever. So I got this. I think I got it at a flea market when I was like 10 or 11 years old. So it was a pretty big deal for me to get these Emerald Twilight, or whatever. Yeah, Emerald Twilight. Of course, that's what it's called. So to get these Emerald Twilight books for me at the time was a really big deal. I actually got them signed by Ron Mars and Daryl Banks. who are both very awesome people. So there's that. And actually, I've got, and I believe the reason it's key, obviously, Hal Jordan becomes Parallax, and then Kyle Rayner finally becomes Green Lantern. As you can see, I just happen to have this bagged with it, so I'll probably rebag these when it's done. So there's awesome Kyle Rayner art right there. He's the Green Lantern I grew up with. Like I said, though, I've always been a Hal Jordan fan, though, even though the 90s was very unkind to Hal Jordan. So, yeah, we'll just leave it at that for now. So, once again, Comicbags22 celebrating 100 subs. Check him out. Like, he's got some cool stuff. Like, especially like I said, if I had that stuff at his age when I was that age, man, he's gonna have a cool collection one day. I'll tell you that right now. So check all three of the channels out. I'm getting ready to go into 21 minutes. So I'm going to wrap it up. So thank you guys so much for watching this far in, and have a great day.